Skål and welcome my friends, I'm Horath and these are 10 tips for new players of Expeditions Viking. I created this video to make getting into the game for people a little bit easier. So let's go! Alright, so when starting the game you will be asked to determine your stats and your skills. Now please take note that you will not get any more stat points when you progress in the game. You will gain many more skill points. Stat points are fixed after you've determined them, and there are certain things that are sort of linked to these stat points. Certain abilities require a certain minimum stat. So if you are too low on finesse, for example, you can see that if we go from 4 to 3, then these two become grayed out, the knives and the spears. And we also grayed out from the quick feet, which is pretty useful, allows you to move around enemies without taking attacks of opportunities. Just make sure that you don't get locked out by your stat choices from certain skills that you really need. I know that I'm sorely missing the quick feet in my melee fighter build. You might not need it for something else. The other thing is that these actually determine your dialogue choices. You're going to have dialogue choices where you have to have a certain stat test, like for perception. You could try to look closer at something, or you could try to use finesse to stab someone down before they suspect anything. So make sure that you set and distribute your stat points in a way that you actually want to play the game. If you want to be an aggressive dude, it might not make the most sense to go for high perception and sense build. If you're not sure what kind of skills to pick when you start out the game, I would recommend picking one particular type of weapon from the weapon skills, because you'll get a type of this weapon when you start out the game. The game is going to give you a weapon that matches your skills. So if you're skilled in sword, the game is not going to give you an axe, it's going to give you a sword. So that it is beneficial to skill something in here to get the type of weapon that you want to use later on. I would recommend not going for any utility skills. These are camping skills when your party is camping outside, because you'll get a lot of skill points by the time that you reach a point in the game where you actually need to use the camping. You'll have enough skill points to level these with points that you earn in the game. So I think it is better to just pick one weapon, level that. You don't have to use all the skill points, you can leave them for later. So I'd recommend picking a weapon. Let's say you pick the Dane axe and then you upgrade that all the way to the point where you want it. Let's say you upgrade it to over here. You can see that the base damage is increased over here by 10, 5, 10, 15. That is dependent on your strength skill, because Dane axes are governed by strength. So if you push that up, let's say you push it up to the max to 10, then you'll see that we gain 10 damage, 20 damage, 30 damage. So the bonus that these skill points give us is also dependent on the stats and skills. So you can do a bit of a min-maxing thing there. Yeah, so forego the skill, the camping skills. Just pick one weapon that you like and that you think that you want to play with, and leave the other skill points for later. You can still skill later on in the game. One great combination of skills that is fairly cheap to acquire is the Backstabber perk, which grants 50% damage versus all enemies that have the Harried debuff, which enemies get when you don't hit with a ranged attack. They sort of get stressed that they're being shot at. That combos very well with the rather cheap to pick up throwing tree. You only have to take the first ability point, throw rock. That is a free action, and that always applies the harried status effect. So you basically get a free 50% damage buff against one enemy every single turn. So that's really powerful. Like this is insane difficulty. You can see that I'm doing about this much damage to this guy with my Dane axe. If I throw the stone, I do hope that I don't hit, because that'll sort of destroy my demonstration. Yeah, very good. So now we're harried. We have harried him, and now you can see that I'm doing a lot more damage. I'm nearly ready to actually take him out. Let's try to do this. I'm gonna go for the reckless swing as well, and that guy is down in one shot, and it's not a lot of skill point investment. Doesn't really matter if you hit. or not. It's actually in fact better if they are not being hit. So if you're looking for skills to pick to give your damage output a quick boost, then the Backstabber perk combined with the throwing skill is a really good pick. Expedition Vikings actually lets you decide if you want to go for lethal attacks and try to kill your enemies, or if you're going to restrict your attacks to the point where you just try to incapacitate them. That is turned on or off with this button down here with the skull symbol. If it glows, lethal attacks are on. If it doesn't glow, lethal attacks are off, and that does actually impact the outcome of certain quests if you kill those enemies or if you don't. So before you start each battle, just think if there could be a different outcome if you let these people live, and then switch this on or off. The downside is that you no longer hit critical attacks if you are going for the non-lethal attacks. And one thing that really comes in handy in most fights, if your enemy is hiding behind cover, is using your archer's ranging shot. It has only one charge, but it is a free action, and it basically lets you flush out enemies out of half cover. You can see these two archers, they are behind this half cover area, and if I go for the ranging shot, not only will it increase my chance to hit these guys, but it will also deny them the benefit of that half cover. So we're going to shoot them, and now they have to get out of the cover, and that increases my chances to hit them massively because they can't hide anymore. So keep that in mind if you are fighting against a lot of archers. It's fairly standard advice for a classical role-playing game with a party, but I'm still going to say it anyway. Do not specialize all the characters in the same weapon, because that is going to disadvantage you massively in terms of loot. If all your 5 or 6 party members are using swords, you're not going to get 5 or 6 amazing swords. So a couple of people are going to have subpar weapons, whereas if one person uses a spear, the other the bow, another a sword, and another an axe, and maybe a knife or something, then you'll be overall better equipped. One aspect where Expeditions Viking differs from other role-playing games is that there are no armor or weapons merchants. There are smiths, but they're gonna construct stuff for you custom made. There are opportunities to buy ready-made armor or weapons, but it's normally people selling equipment off that they no longer need, and most of your equipment will come from loot drops, or you have to make them yourself. And I'm gonna create a detailed crafting tutorial for that, but just so you know how it works, you're gonna create them out of salvage if you're gonna create weapons, or out of hides if you're gonna create armor. And the way that works is you can either have a craftsman do that. Go over here, he can repair or he can create equipment. You select the type of equipment that you want. Let's say we want to make a Dane axe, and that's gonna cost 300 valuables and 3 salvage per point that we invest, and then we can buff various stats of the weapon. Let's say we want a Dane axe that does more damage, so we're gonna pump up the damage as much as our valuables and our salvage allow, and then we're gonna have the item crafted. So that is how that works. Smiths are going to take valuables, or let's say money, from you if they have to do that. You can skill your own people to do this, which is beneficial because they don't ask for any price if they craft things for you. Speaking of weapons and armor, the durability of an item is an indicator of its quality. So you can see that 10 of 10 durability pine shield has worse stats than that 14 durability shield, even though they sort of have the same visual representation. Higher durability items generally are better than lower durability items if they don't have a special property. And this is also an indicator of how much salvage you can get from this if you deconstruct it. If it loses durability, you have to use salvage to repair it again. Salvage and a craftsman, so either a smith or one of your own characters. And if you take it apart, the higher the durability, the higher the amount of salvage that you can get from this thing. So I have 2 10 durability items over here. So let's take apart this pine shield. And you can see that we gain 5 salvage from it. Now, you can increase the amount of salvage that you get by increasing the repairing utility skill. Go away. We're going to skill that as far as possible. We can't get to 4 out of 5. And now if we take away, apart that 10 out of 10 bow here, we gain 7 salvage. So we gain 2 more salvage. That adds up very quickly. I would recommend not taking apart anything until you have a person fully skilled in repairing things, and then you can craft them into better, more useful weapons later on. A quick, easy and very helpful way to mitigate some of the ambush burst damage that can happen to you if you run into an ambush by NPCs and they have the first turn and have all their archers focus fire one of your people, is to equip everyone with a shield. Even if they don't have a particular skill in using that shield, like for example my archer Kettle over here, he doesn't really have any sort of shield skill because he's an archer. He doesn't care about shields. But even though he doesn't have a skill, he still has a 24% block chance because I gave him that shield. I've switched that to be his primary weapon. You can switch between weapon sets rather freely in the game. So if you keep that as his primary weapon and you run into an ambush, he still has that 24% block chance and will be able to mitigate some of the damage that is coming his way. And then once you survive that first turn, just switch to the other weapon set and deal some damage. So dole out all the shields that you have, give everyone one so that they can be better protected. Later in the game you have to travel and you have to camp to let your people sleep and to have them recover, to have them craft things, all those kinds of things. And a must pick for this kind of thing is actually the heavy sleeper skill. Over here in the utility skills, or is it over here, heavy sleeper, that will basically give your people the ability to rest fully in only one shift. Go away. I'm gonna skill that. That's a worthwhile pick, even though it costs 10 skill points. It'll make you a lot more efficient because, as you can see, currently we have on each one we have 4 shifts of sleeping. And if you want to do other things, like say for example hunting or scouting or what have you, if you have to have 2 shifts of sleep, you're going to be way less inefficient than if you have the heavy sleeper perk and you can use 3 shifts to do everything else. So keep that in mind. It's in my mind a must pick, especially later in the game. As a bit of a bonus tip, I think you might be familiar with this already if you're playing a lot of role-playing games. But most of these classical role-playing games have a key that highlights all interactable objects so that you don't have to search a screen centimeter for centimeter, pixel by pixel to find everything that you can find there. And in this game, this is the standard key for that is the left Alt key. If you press that, everything that you can interact with gets highlighted, including lootable objects and all that kind of thing. So to make your life easier, you can press that and just look around and see if you missed anything. You have that in the options under controls, miscellaneous controls. Where is it? Over here, show info. You can put that on any other key if you want that as well. Certainly made my life easier, and I hope it does the same for you. Alright, I hope these tips made life a little bit easier for you. If they did, if you found them helpful, then please leave a like so that the video can show up in search results and help more people. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm going to do my best to answer them. If you have any tips of your own, please leave them in the comments as well so that other people can profit from it. And if you want to see more of my stuff, if you want to see my Expeditions Viking Let's Play or other stuff that I do, then please consider subscribing. I hope you have a lot of fun in Expeditions Viking, and I hope I see you in one of my videos. Thanks, and bye bye.